Hey guys, welcome to episode 3 of the G3X Podcast. We had a special guest today of Alex LaForest, where we talked awesome topics on, let's say, his fitness journey, his YouTube channel with food challenges, and a lot of awesome gems. So I hope you guys are excited and be ready. Welcome everyone. We are here with episode 3 of the G3X Podcast, where it's everything God, Gym Grind, unfiltered. Super excited here. We have an amazing guest here with Alex, who's also deep into the fitness space. He even has a cool YouTube channel with food challenges we'll be getting later in the podcast. It's going to be a super fun one. A lot of cool things we'll be talking about to provide value for you guys. And Alex, thank you so much for being here. How are you feeling?
Pleasure to be here, and I'm feeling pretty okay today.
Awesome. So far, good start to your day so far. Been a good one?
It's been an okay day. I just came back from the gym, shower. Knee was a little bit achy today, so I did the prudent thing and I just skipped the exercise. Still train the hammies because it's important to train your hamstrings way more than your quads a little bit, and it's been okay.
Awesome. Nice. Yeah, I have legs actually today. Last night I got busy with some things, so I couldn't hit the gym. So today I'm going, and definitely it's leg day. So I agree. Usually that's how I do it. Hamstrings, then some quads, then some calves sometimes. But I know what you mean on the knees too. Sometimes it happens to me depending. And I'm like, yeah, let me go a little lighter or just not do these exercises, do something else. Better safe than sorry.
Absolutely. Like you want to listen to your body, and you don't want to injure yourself because that's going to take a long ass time, and it's better to take like a few days to let it recover and go back to normal.
Yep, 100%, totally spot on there. But Alex, so for maybe the audience who isn't aware of who you are, maybe give a little introduction of, where you're from, what let's say your current occupation, what you do, and then we could proceed on with the rest.
All right. Well, everyone, my name is Alexander LaForest. I am 33 years old, and I am from Montreal in Canada. I am a Canadian Armed Forces member, and I do food challenge on my YouTube channel, my team Munch on the side, and I hope to be able to monetize one of these days and keep doing this because I'm having a lot of fun with that. And I love bringing you some mighty food challenge for your entertainment.
Definitely. No, you heard that, guys. Mighty Munch, that's his YouTube channel. You guys should definitely subscribe if you're watching it here on YouTube, or pause the podcast, go to YouTube, do it, because it's awesome, the content he's doing, and it just keeps getting better. That's for sure. And as a gym rat myself, seeing people eat, just like, it makes it, I don't know, it's something about it just fun to watch, and it's like entertaining. Awesome, Alex. No, for sure. So let's get into that. Let's say, and you mentioned there with respect to your background, focusing a little bit on fitness, of course, is one of the core, let's say, pillars within this podcast amongst the other stuff that we'll discuss. But let's say, what inspired you ultimately to start your fitness journey? Was it maybe related with your background of like the army there, or something completely different? Just curious there, what kind of sparked your interest there into the fitness and so forth?
So what sparked my interest into fitness was the fact that growing up, I was bullied a lot, and, food became my comfort. And I just started eating. And I reached a point when I was 14 years old. I was 193 pounds at 5 feet tall. So I decided that it was time for a change. Like, I could not even run a mile without thinking I was going to die, because like it was just gasping for air all the time. Like, I was prisoner in my own body. So I decided to become more active. And when I was 16 years old, I joined a gym. And since then, I have never really stopped training.
Wow. Okay. So in a sense, basically like 16, 17 years since then. And I'm assuming through those, probably like for the audience to know, like, I'm pretty sure maybe some ups and downs, or could you say pretty consistent with it, or, ups and downs, maybe a few months that you couldn't go, or this and that, or how would you say from then onward it's been?
I would say that there was a lot of ups and a lot of down because, going to the gym is a lot of trial and error, even if you hire someone, because sometimes you don't listen to them or they're just not the right fit for you. So, few injuries, light injuries there and there, you cannot train the way you like. But It's been quite a journey, but I would not change anything else because that made the person who I am today.
I remember someone asked me that recently. Would you change anything for? I mean, honestly, I don't want, because I don't think I'll be here if it wasn't for all that. Even if it was tough or hard, or at the moment you're like, why? But I think it ultimately let's say, molded us into the person I'm now, right? So that's awesome. Say when you started, then let's say at 16 when you got the gym. Just curious, because for other people, maybe there's other 16-year-old listening to this podcast that are maybe in a similar situation, going through something similar to that. So just curious, let's say when you started there, 16, was it like someone helped you? You had a trainer just online, or like videos you would watch, or like people at the gym that you would ask, or just, let me just figure this out myself. How does this machine go?
So the first gym I joined was a gym called Nautilus Plus in Quebec, in my old town of Saint-Jean-sur-Richelieu. And I hired a trainer there, and it showed me the basics and everything. But now looking back, he gave me some workouts that maybe you should not give as a beginner. Like one example, I only learned that many years later. He gave me a German volume training to do. Are you familiar with that?
I'm not. I was going to ask you, what's that? It sounds intense. The fact that it says volume.
So German volume training is basically doing 10 sets of 10 repetition with like your 20 rep max on a different exercise and everything. It's supposed to be done with more advanced bodybuilder. So it gave me that as a beginner. Yeah.
Man, you're probably sore for like that whole week or something.
Exactly. And then after that, I just, had different trainer. And then I just I didn't like it either. So I just started to doing my own thing.
There you go. Nice. I think that's cool. Yeah, you start like evolving more. You start kind of developing what works best for you. And so within that, were you say only always like, let's say, more on that bodybuilding side, and like I say, like weight training or other kinds of, let's say, training, you like, let's say, CrossFit or anything else of that sort?
So it was a lot of bodybuilding, and then I did some powerlifting for fun. I followed the Jim Wendler 531 program when I was in my 20s, and I did a lot of gains with that. Like my best bench was 255 for one, 85 deadlift for one, and I did 240 or 345 for 2 reps on squat at a body weight of 157 pounds.
Nice. Okay. That's awesome. And let's
Yeah.
say, but from then now, powerlifting hasn't been a thing for you, or at that point you liked it, or you're like, okay, I'll move something else, or?
Well, remember we were talking about ups and downs. After that, things went a little bit downhill from there. Like there was a few years where I got a lot of little injuries and everything, and it started to play in my head, and I was just afraid to train really hard because I kept thinking that I'm gonna get injured, it's gonna suck, I might lose my job because if I'm injured, I cannot work, things like that.
I see. Okay,
Yeah.
no, and that's fair. And I think that a lot of us have, at one point or another, either been in that kind of situation. We're like, well, let me just, and then it kind of like holds you back. For example, I'll use my example of one of my sisters that I sometimes train with her, that sometimes, let's say one of her shoulders, I think all of us, there's always something with our shoulders when it comes to like let's say benching or something. Like it's always the shoulder, either the left or the right shoulder. So sometimes, even though her shoulder, thank God, has gotten better over time because she's been doing some like stretches and like exercises and so forth to like improve her shoulder there. But I know sometimes certain like movements, she just kind of has like, oh wait, like it could, because before like it would maybe hurt a lot or something, but now like that she's better, but it's sometimes still like holds back. Oh, like, oh, I don't know if I want to try that. Like, what if I hurt myself again or something like? And so I know what you mean. Another friend of mine, same thing, similar situation, also the shoulder, and she was also like, I don't know if I want to try it. Like my shoulder is good now, but I don't want to go back to it. So I'm like, I know that. And ultimately though, just to relate it back to the audience, let's say what would you say as time progressed, maybe helped you kind of overcome maybe, let's say, that self-doubt, if that's a correct way to call it, like just kind of like pushing yourself or little like lighter weights, building up, because if other people may be going through that similar situation.
So my advice for a lot of people in the gym would be to, don't rush the process. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. Focus on good form and, perform your repetition. Not perfectly because, a little bit of cheating there and then, but you need to have a good grasp on the form you're using and also the weight. Like you need to respect the weight because if you don't respect it, well, it's going to get clapped back at you.
Yep. And I think that's something I would say maybe the younger crowd, I include myself there for sure, that sometimes I'm like, okay, hold up. This is a little bit of some ego lifting. Let me go down on the weight. Form is atrocious. I'll see a video. I'm like, oh my God, what is that? I actually recall my earlier days starting. I was like on the leg press. Everyone loves to like, let's say flex on the leg press machine, right? And so I was literally, I still have it on Instagram and I keep it as a memory. Like, don't try. I think it was like maybe, I don't remember. Let's say, I think 7 plates. I could be wrong on each side. And so I was like, hey, PR 7 plates, But then looking at the video, I'm like, hey, I was not even going like halfway. Where's the ROM? Where's the range of motion? There's no depth, nothing. What is that? And I felt so happy at the moment. And it's funny, people were like commenting like, oh, awesome job. And I'm like, wait, that's horrible. Like, that's so bad. And so ever since then, same thing. I'm always I rather now is like 3 or 4 plates, even though maybe I could do more, but I hate 3 or 4 plates. That's good. Because at the end of the day, it's be able to do enough repetition where you can like really burn the muscle and you're controlling it with all the way. And that's ultimately the way, I say, definitely the way to build some good muscle ultimately too, versus you kind of like a little swinging. I'm not saying there's bad with swinging, but like you said, always a little bit of some more control. I think if anything, mentally too, because it's easy to kind of like swing it if you're a little heavy, but I think it's even mentally harder to like control it on the way down, on the way up, especially as your muscle starts getting more tired and more tired as you're getting closer to that failure point. So definitely I would say ultimately then another thing too, to connect it, let's say as of this point in time, what's kind of then your current like workout routine looking like, some of your favorite exercises?
So my workout routine right now, it consists of 3 days a week where I train with a program made by one of my personal military trainer that we have. So day one would focus a lot on different deadlift, like normal deadlift, sumo deadlift, bench and pull-ups and whatnot. Second day would be more like shoulder and arms oriented. So barbell overhead press, curls, triceps, and a lot of exercise for the rear delt and all the other muscle of the back. And today was supposed to be Bulgarian split squat teamed with power press to work on those legs. Then leg press, chin up, what else? Seated row, single arm, rear delt fly, leg curl, step ups, and ab wheel rollout.
That's a workout.
And on top of that, every week, because I'm military, we have 2 days a week where we do group PT. So Monday is usually cardio and core. And on the Wednesday, it's, let's just say circuit training, functional training, that kind of stuff.
Okay, nice. Okay, I like it. I like how you have it set up. It's basically all inclusive. You're working like everything. That's great. I know there's always people, even I have to catch myself. Hey, you're kind of slacking off on the cardio, or hey, you're slacking a little bit on the core. But no, I like that. Functional training, that's something I want to get more into personally myself, because I'll see it in my gym that they have some areas there of functional training. Like, so I'm not super familiar with it. I'm like super familiar more, I guess you could say, the typical bodybuilding exercises, for like, so I've seen some of like the cables or some of the kettlebells. I know a few exercises for kettlebells, but that's something for my own fitness journey that I want to get a little bit more into. So since you mentioned that, what would you say, let's say as a beginner then in that aspect, what would you say, hey, some of the basic let's say, functional training that you would suggest someone getting into it or wanting to learn more about it?
As a beginner, you should focus on compound movement and with the basic lift, like a squat, lunge, hinge, a pull, a vertical pull and an horizontal pull, a horizontal and an horizontal press and a vertical press. That's what you should focus on and get good at. And then after that, you could have some fun exercise like curls, triceps, lateral raise, calf, if you want to train calf, but nobody trained calves. So yeah.
Nice. Awesome. I love that. No, it's true. I know on the calves, that's always like, I feel like in all the gyms, there's so many machines and then just two seated calves. I'm like, wow, well, how you go? I always find that hilarious. Now, let me ask you then, let's say from your most favorite to least favorite, then let's say what's your current, like as of right now, your most favorite exercise you look forward to doing like every week? And then what's, let's say, your least favorite?
Deadlift is my favorite exercise, either conventional or sumo. And my least favorite exercise is bench, actually.
Yeah, either flat or incline, both of them?
Especially incline. It's been a while since I started to have some discomfort with doing incline press that I don't have doing lying press. I'm working on this so it gets better, but yeah, that would be like my least favorite lift. I know it's probably heresy for all the gym bros out there, but it is what it is. I prefer deadlift.
There you go. Nice, nice, awesome. No, that's fair because, and even I find myself, I know barbell, everyone's like, oh yeah, barbell, like let's say flat or incline, benching, right? But even for myself, because I'm also something like, it's literally my right shoulder, like here in the little front part that sometimes bothers. So I'll do these cable stretches over time, which have helped. But I agree, like when it comes to, let's say barbell versus machines or dumbbells or even like plate loaded, like pin loaded machines or plate machines or just dumbbells or even cable, like I feel it a lot more on the chest where like it feels like very like pumped and like, let's say stretched, burnt out, etc. versus like barbell, either flat or incline. And I can push myself even more versus that fear of like, hey, who's going to spot me because I got no spotter. Now I can't lift the bar up or something. So that's fair. In that regard, I would say sometimes it's hyped, like you said, in the gym bros, the barbell, but hey, there's actually some other ones, machines out there that can actually maybe go a little bit better, give you a better pump than that. Deadlifts, I need to work on that better. I'm going to, you probably were familiar, like in February, they have the Gymshark event here again. So I know they do a lot of deadlifting. So I want to get a little practice involved because they sometimes do these little competitions for deadlifts and just see how it goes. You'll probably see some videos there when it happens.
Lucky you, I wish I could have gone, but I don't have the money for that yet. But I'll probably try to go to another event during the year.
For sure. No, definitely. One thing on my bucket list is traveling to Canada. So if I ever get the opportunity to Canada, first person I'm visiting is Alex. We'll do a workout together or something and post it.
Hey, that would be awesome, brother. So where do you want to go in Canada?
That's the thing. I don't know. I mean, there's the most common ones like that, like from the top of my head is, let's say, like, I know they mentioned like Montreal, Quebec, but I'm not saying they're the best ones because I haven't like done my full research where I really want to go. I just know it's Canada. There's some beautiful places in Canada. And honestly, I would ask you like, hey, where should I go?
It really depends on what you like to do, my man.
I would say, so for the audience watching, let's say they're curious, Canada. On my side, I would say I'm more, let's say like foodie, just like yourself, foodie, like anything food, like cool foods, and it's all kinds of food, and like sightseeing, like anything sightseeing. That I would say those are my two main things for the most part.
Okay. Well, for food, you definitely can't go wrong with Montreal because it's such a multicultural city. Like you have access to food from all around the world and also some Canadian goodies. Sightseeing Quebec is very beautiful to visit, especially old Quebec. You can see architecture from when it was still under the control of France and whatnot in old Quebec. The Frontenac is such a sight to see. Yeah, definitely Quebec if you want to visit.
Okay, nice. Awesome. There you go, Chad. And everyone else also watching, we have some places where we can go visit. Awesome. Love it. Nice. So now let's say moving forward here to one, let's say final question, at least within the fitness space, let's say
Right.
from starting out to even now, let's say what was maybe the biggest, let's say, and I know it was multiple, like you said, multiple ups and downs. So I would say the one that stood out to you the most that you think could provide the best value to the audience of like one of your biggest challenges or setbacks that you faced within fitness that maybe was like totally unexpected threw you off, and how were you able to overcome that to, let's say, get back on track too?
Okay. So one of my biggest setback was that it was not even training. Like I was working for the military and I double strained my chest on both sides. So it was inside the connection where the pec and the arm is. I had a strain on both sides because of what I was doing. And, it took probably like 2 years before I had no more pain in there. So yeah, that was definitely a very big setback. And like this one, like really played in my head a lot.
Wow. And yeah, I imagine because it's like it basic at that point. Then I would assume then like you were out. When I say out, like a lot of things you just couldn't do at the moment. You like were you like at the hospital for a while, or like you were able to be home, but like a lot of things you couldn't do, or
I didn't need to go to the hospital and everything, and like it was a grade 2 strain, but there was no that much swelling and or bruising, but it was tough because could not. I had trouble lifting my arms overhead, and doing push up was painful. So I needed to take my time to heal, and now I'm pretty much back to a normal level of fitness.
nice, nice. From that point to when, let's say, you were able to, let's say, get back to normal, how long was that? Was it like years or months or a mix?
It took me like 2 years really to get back to normal and not be scared also to just work out in general.
You see, and I like how you mentioned that because like we're connecting it to what you said earlier on, like it's fitness, it's a long term. It's not like a race, it's a marathon, like, long term. And it's like, take that slow. And I know a lot of people possibly would have maybe quit or given up, let's say 6 months later or something like, okay, like, screw it or whatever. But, for you, it took you 2 years. And I'm sure, no doubt, within those 2 years, there were so many things you probably said to yourself, like, oh man, screw this, or pissed off at yourself, frustrated, like I could used to do this and not now. But you kept at it. So I think that's also a reflection of your own discipline. And let's say, in a sense, mental growth, because for sure it's a mental battle that you get better at it over time to be able to keep going, keep doing it, and then, where you are now.
Yeah. So since all this time has passed, like, I've learned that, as a gym guy or girl, whatever you identify as, setbacks will happen. And when they happen, it's where your character is really tested. But it's part of life. Like you can do everything right and still lose it. And it's not your fault. It's just life. Life is happening. And, you know, you get down, but you need to get back up and keep going.
Yep. Super true. Yeah, it's exactly. And because we never know what's life going to throw us. It's, it's unexpected, but it's just like you said, and relating to how we like to say that God Gym grind, like, hey, whatever life throws at you, grind it out. And I don't say it in like a let's say careless manner, like, hey, just deal with it. But it's more like, hey, we never know what life is really gonna throw at you. What I may be going through, which might be crazy for me, for someone else to be like, oh man, I wish I was going through that instead of what I'm going through now, right? Everyone has their own hill that, let's say, they face, and ultimately by staying true to yourself and, hey, you know what, I can get through this, and like sticking to it, finding ways to overcome it, be it with other people's help or whatever it may be. It's like everyone's situation is different, of course, but eventually you'll look back and you'll be like, hey, I was able to overcome it. And then, of course, something else always comes down the line, right? I think, like you said, that is life. You finish one trial or challenge, and then something else comes down the line. But also reflecting to what you said earlier, those things happen which form the person you are at this point, and then you'll keep growing from there. A famous quote, I believe Steve Jobs said, I say it a lot, but it's just really true. And I think you can connect with it too, is like, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You could only connect the dots looking back, where like sometimes a bunch of stuff happen. You're like, why did this happen? Or why? But then you look back at it a year from now, 2 years from now, whenever, and you're like, oh, wow, because that happened, it led me to meeting this person or connecting with this or starting this business, etc., which then led me to here, and look where I'm at now, where you wouldn't have known at that point in time. But, you know, looking back, connecting the dots, looking back, you're like, oh, wow, it was all connected in a sense, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Now, moving a little bit here into some of the content creation and so forth, because I know that's something that you've been doing. It's been like super fun. So I know you mentioned there, if I'm not, because I know you just recently changed the Mighty Munchies, if I'm getting it correctly.
Mighty Munch.
Mighty Munch. Okay, perfect. So now getting into that, so talk to the audience about that. Like, what inspired you to start your YouTube channel? Was it like, you know, your passion for food, fitness with food, both?
So what motivated me to start was that, you know, I was a big fan of Will Tennyson, and, you know, the food challenge, the fitness stuff he was doing. I started to watch him during COVID, and I became a big fan. I actually met him once at a Gym Shark event. I have a few photos with him, so that was nice. And then I discovered Beard Meats Food, Eric the Electric, Matt Stoney, a lot of different food challenger like Randy Santel and whatnot. So I've always loved food, and even though I'm a small guy, I'm 5'5", I could always eat a lot of food, and people were like, "Where do you put all of that?" And I was like, hey, I don't know. So I decided, hey, why should I not try doing food challenge as well? You know, that could be fun.
I love that. We're the same. We're the same height. Same thing. People are like, how do you eat so much? Like, I can't. You know, sometimes I like to say I don't go bar hopping. I like to go food hopping. Whereas like, okay, have a little, okay, let's hit these different food places and let's like little appetizers and just hit like 4 or 5 different spots and just take it from there. But no, I love that. That's super cool. You know, so it's kind of like these served as your inspiration. I remember younger, I would watch a lot, which I'm sure you heard on TV, Man versus Food.
Oh, yeah.
And so I was like, every time I would see that, I was like, oh my, how did he even do that? You see his face is like stub, where he's like, oh my God. And then I'll see your videos. I see your videos sometimes where you're starting to get like super full. I'm like, oh my God. That's so awesome though. Nice. Now, let's say from the challenges you've done, what's, let's say, as of now, one of your like favorite food challenges or like a funny story when filming?
I think my favorite food challenge that I've done right now will be the Thank Me challenge that I've done. You know, the massive burger, like with the teen inside of it. And it's like, there's no time limit. You finish it or you don't finish it. And if you don't finish it, well, you get spanked with a big wooden spatula. And it took me a while to finish it. It was like one of my first very big challenge, but I still finished it. And the owner of the restaurant came to congratulate me and say that in 8 years there, he never saw anyone finish it all. So he congratulated me. So I think that was one of my favorite food challenge.
Definitely. That's awesome. No, you see, and just like even in food, people might not think, but you see, just like in fitness, where it's like you keep going, you don't quit. Hey, even in food, you can connect it back. I like that. That's awesome. Now, let me ask you the following, like looking ahead into like future challenges. I've seen some of the ones you've done. Are you ever tempted, just because it just came to me, like any kind of like spicy food? I don't know if you like spicy food or not, but are you ever like tempted to try one of those spicy food challenges or something like that? Or like,
eventually, I would like to try one. Like, there's one that I've seen Beer Meat Food do is the Tube of Terror. I don't know if you heard about it. It's like a pack of like 12 nuts inside, and each one become progressively odder and odder. So maybe I would like to try that one day. Or in Montreal, there's I don't remember the name of the place, but there's like a restaurant that offered like 12 wings and like the spiciest sauce you can. You have 1 hour to finish 12, and like you get them for free, a t-shirt and your picture on the wall of fame. But it's apparently a lot of people are failing this. So eventually I would need to practice my spice tolerance first.
Yeah, that's true. Oh man, that sounds fun actually. Do you see? Because I like spicy, but of course to a certain point. So I would have to train myself. I remember years ago, I was like very young, or maybe 13, 12. It was a group of us. We went to like this theme park in Orlando. And so Universal Studios, for those wondering. And so we went the day before we were actually going to go to the park. We all met at the hotel. Like, oh, yeah, let's go to eat. So I think we went to Buffalo Wild Wings. And so at that point in time, I do recall I was watching a lot of like just random videos on the internet of like food challenges. I was in that mode. And so I saw how they had the hottest sauce. I forgot the name in like Buffalo Wild Wings. Was it Buffalo Wild Wings or this other place? It was a place that they just sell wings. It was the Buffalo Wild Wings or another one. I forgot the name. So I was like, give me that one, the hottest one. It was just six. It was just 6 wings. And it was give me the hottest one. He's like, and the waiter, you know, he saw me super young. He's like, are you sure? He asked me like 3 times, are you sure? Then he asked everyone else, are you sure? He's like, hey, are you sure? That's really spicy. I'm like, no worries. It's all good. I love spicy. I'm like, okay. So then he brings me the wings. I was like, I smelled it. I'm like, oh God, this is super spicy. All my friends were there like, yo, you're going to eat that? Cause it's like, I will see. And so I'm like, hey guys, let's do a challenge. Like I challenged myself. So like no water, no milk, nothing until I finished all 6, right? Until I finished all 6. And they're like, you're crazy. So, okay, I take the first bite. I bite the first wing. I'm like, okay. It's like, I'm starting to little feel it. Honestly, by the second one, I'm like already sweating, kind of runny nose. God. My eyes are like my face is red. And I was like, yeah, you get me? And I was like, oh my God. He's like, bro, I'm like, this is hot. Like, this is spicy hot. Like, oh my God. I was like, you know, your lips are burning, like on fire, your tongue, everything. You're like, oh my, you don't even want to touch your face because then it gets worse, you know, because of the sauce. Yeah. I was like, oh my God. And then it's funny, the waiter out of nowhere comes with like 3 cups of milk. He's like, bro, you're dying. What is up? You know, he's like, and I'm like, no. I can't take milk until the end. It's just for the heck of it. And then whatever, I was able to finish all 6, then drank some milk and everything. But I was like super, super red. They're like, oh my God. And my friends were like, dude, you're crazy. And for what? I'm like, I don't know. It's just for fun. How long it took me, I don't know. I want to say maybe within that hour, but I really don't remember how long it took me. So, but you say 12. I'm like, oh man, if I was dying with 6 and you're saying people are failing, and that wasn't even an official challenge. It was just like the hottest one in the restaurant. If that's a challenge, I can only imagine then how spicy that one must be. Wow.
If I can make a comment about that, that must have been super fun on the other way out. Oh my God.
My God, yeah. Let's not even get started on that. Oh man. yeah. That's I think the part everyone forgets. They're like, oh, the spicy, I could do it, but it's like they always forget the other side. Yep. Oh man, that's too funny though. No, it's fun time. So I mean, if you ever do any spicy challenges, I'll definitely look forward to that. But no, 100% train it up, and then from there. Would you say for food challenges, you like not the spicy one, a spicy aside, but let's say, do you prefer more like, for lack of a better way, like, let's say food challenges versus sweet challenges? What I mean, like food, like what you like that 10,000 calorie.
Okay. You need sweet versus savory.
There you go. Perfect.
Yeah. So definitely prefer savory challenge, you know, burger, pizza, and whatnot, because you probably saw the video where I did 100 Oreos for 100 subscriber. My God. You know, I ate all 100 of it, but by the 90th one, each time I was biting and swallowing, like I had shiver of disgust. So yeah, like I would say that savory is much easier on the body than the sweet one.
Yeah, I agree with you. I remember I saw one on TikTok. He ate like it was a crumble cake. It was like a cake. So it was like 10,000 or 12,000 calories, that cake. And he ate the whole thing. Like he sped up the video, but he ate the whole thing in one sitting. I'm like, oh my God, I will be so sick. I'll be so sick eating that. And then he recorded himself for the next like week or however long it took him, like to run it off, like to burn it. And so he would run like 2-3 hours every day. And it took him like 7 or 8 days, I don't remember, to run however much he had to run to burn those 10,000 calories off. And afterwards
Yeah.
he was like, yeah, I don't recommend this to no one, guys. Don't do this challenge. Can you imagine? Like a 10,000 Hershey cake? That's crazy.
Well, yeah, actually, but I do actually have a sweet challenge and the work, but that's all I'm gonna say. You're gonna have to wait to watch this video. But
Definitely.
if I end up doing it, this gonna be something pretty epic.
You heard it, guys. So as always, go subscribe to Alex's channel. It's definitely worth the view 100%. I love it. Now, let me also ask you, let's say when it comes to, let's say your content creation now that you recently started, I know you mentioned earlier at the beginning of the podcast. So you ultimately see this eventually, if possible, turn it into more like maybe like would you call it like a full-time content creator possibly in the future? That you see yourself going to that, or maybe still keeping it as a hobby, or where do you see yourself there on that regards?
Really depends on how successful I can become. Like I've yet to monetize, because you need like 3,000 hour and 500 subscriber. I'm still a little bit far from that, especially on the watching hours, but that will come with me just getting better at making content, filming and whatnot, and make it more entertaining. It would be fun. I'm not gonna lie that if I could monetize and maybe turn this into a full-time job, that would be amazing. Like, can you imagine like your job is working out, eating a lot of food, and yeah, so
Yeah,
that would be a dream, honestly.
definitely. I love it. And let's say then for maybe someone else wanting to start in that process, maybe they want to start their channel, be it fitness, be it food or something, like what would you say, what advice could you give to someone looking to start their own, let's say, channel or that sort when it comes to YouTube?
So I would say to just start it and learn along the way, because too many people wait for the perfect moment to start anything. It's either their fitness journey, their side hustle, or whatnot. They think like, oh, there's going to be one perfect moment where I can start all of this. But no, just start right away, because if you do what I said earlier, you're going to wait a long ass time, or you might never start.
Yeah, for sure. No, and I agree with you there. Just start. It's never going to be perfect the first one. You're not going to have it all figured out. Even myself with G3X Fitness, when I first launched and everything, I didn't have it figured out. I still said to myself, this website isn't the best for this. So you're never going to have it figured out, but just do it, just start, and you figure it out as you go. Ultimately, I think that's the whole thing of, let's say content creation, business, entrepreneurship is like you're moving forward and it's always an unknown and you just don't know, and you just got to keep moving ultimately. So no, I love that. That's exactly, just start, learn as you go. It's never going to be perfect, but like you said, if you wait for perfect, then you're never going to start, because nothing's ever perfect the first time. Nothing's ever perfect the first time. And the more you get experience, you get comfortable and everything. Also, just something that came to my mind, which I think could be a lot of value. One thing, and especially for all the creators on YouTube who could be watching this or want to start, especially long form content, I think another good way of, let's say, to build up those views possibly is like you could take your long form and see what kind of fun parts within that. You chop it up as a little reel, 30-second, 20-second reel. From my experience with G3X, I tend to post a lot of reels only now that I started the podcast and I'm doing like these longer form videos. And I do see how YouTube Shorts, again, depends what kind of video you post, but it has some good organic reach sometimes, let's say 300, 400 views, depending again what you do, or sometimes it could even go beyond that. So that's something there for maybe you, Alex, or even anyone else hearing this podcast, watching it, that wants to, let's say, build their YouTube, seeing how other ways to, let's say, build subscribers and build views. The subscribers I currently have as the moment of recording this, it could be much higher when someone else sees it. But as of recording this, January 18, 2025, I have like 190 subscribers on YouTube. And that's all just from basically all the shorts. So, imagine you, if you have your long form content, which is amazing, the ad entertainment, and then doing short tunnels, you could maybe kind of grows up your channel quickly. Just food for thought, hey, food for thought, see, but something there. But okay. And now let's say connecting it back within fitness, someone who loves fitness also loves food. How do you, let's say, find that balance? Is like, wow, this man just did a 1,000-calorie challenge, but I saw in the video how he also worked out, walked to kind of burn those calories to be able to eat more. So I think it kind of complements each other. But how do you find that balance and so forth as well?
So there's nothing magic about that. Is calorie in, calorie out. To prepare for example, to prepare for my 10,000 calorie challenge, I was in a calorie deficit for 2 weeks by like 500 a day. So I need usually 3,000 calories to maintain my weight because of how active I am. So the week prior to that, I just cut 500 calories from my diet from every day. So it gives me like an extra 3,500 to play with for doing that. So that brings like, I could eat like 6,500 for this week and still keep my weight. And the week, but we're still far from 3,000 from 10,000. So the week after that, like this week that just finished, I just was also in a calorie deficit. And, today I was back to what I was before the challenge. Like I was at 143.4 pounds this morning, which was like the weight I was before my calorie deficit 2 weeks prior.
Okay, there you go. So that's more, I think a lot of people probably don't see that behind the scenes where you kind of prepare. You see, I wouldn't have even thought that. I honestly was like, oh, he just went right into it or something, or, so that's actually cool. You had that little preparation beforehand. And I remember in the video, the 10,000 calorie, that's his most recent video that he just posted for the ones listening, which is why we're talking about it. And so he literally posted this yesterday at the time as we're recording this on YouTube. So I remember how the day after it was a 24-hour challenge, and the day after it was like 7 additional pounds and just food. I'm like, oh my God, even I was shocked. Like, you can see how your body changes. Honestly, you can see how your body changes. It's like crazy. So that's another thing I like seeing, how just, I know a lot of people, and actually let me connect that back to something. Let's say you personally, and I know you're doing it for the food challenge. So you already, let's say mentally know you're going to, let's say, get a little bit more puffy in a sense. But maybe other people who are, maybe that's a struggle for them mentally, that maybe they do want to bulk, or maybe they're trying to cut, but then, of course, with the different foods, it could kind of go up and down on a daily basis. It's more like long-term when it comes to that weight loss journey too. But let's say, did you ever struggle with that like recently, like that I'm looking puffy, but it's maybe more food, that kind of mental battle in a sense? Like, did you ever struggle through that, or any tips you have for maybe people going through that? Just curious.
I'm human. Sometimes I look myself in the mirror. I'm like, yeah, I'm a little chubby or puffy there. And then there's they were like, I like what I see in the mirror. Yeah. So, it's very on a daily basis. We are human and we are our own worst critique.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, it's true. Exactly. So something just for us to be to you guys to be aware of too. Don't beat yourself up, ultimately be happy with where you are. Of course, you have your goals, whatever that goals maybe be, either bulking, weight loss, etc. Of course, go for it. But on a day-to-day basis, definitely don't beat yourself up, because, it happens to all of us. Same thing with me. At times, exactly as Alex says. So it's like, at times I'm like, damn. And I was like, other time, man, you're small. What are you talking about? There's nothing. So it's just the battle, but you just keep doing it, and what you're doing is going to pay off long term. So definitely. Now, a few more here I also wanted to ask you, man. I love that whole thing. So again, wrapping at least this part of this section of the podcast of the YouTube. If you guys haven't, where could they find you on YouTube for your channel?
For my YouTube channel, you can find me under Mighty Munch on YouTube, and you can find me on Instagram under Alex LaForest, and also on Thread under Alex LaForest as well.
Perfect. And I'll make sure, guys, I'll link that in the description so you guys can actually check that out. And it's a fun story, actually. Me and Alex, I believe, if I remember, we actually met through Threads, where then we connected through Instagram, and then we connected other people. For those of you not on Threads, I would say, hey, hop on Threads, because as of now, it's one of the best platforms, in our opinion, where you can get the most organic, real engagement from people, where from there you can then possibly connect on Instagram. But Threads is just, it's just fire. It's awesome. I know a lot of people don't like it, but I think it's the best platform out there right now for like real connections, for sure.
For sure. Like through Thread, I've met like a lot of people, even a friend in California we met last year because of Thread. So
that's awesome. There you go. I love that. You see, that's the best thing. I love hearing that. Now, also, when it comes to, let's say, Alex, let me ask you the following too. So, I see how you got different things going on. Let's say you got your fitness journey, you got your work, you got YouTube, and sometimes I'll see on Threads where, you have your personal time with like family, etc. And I love that, with your parents, etc. So how do you go about, there's always that question, like, how do you go about managing it all and like having efficient, let's say, time management for all those things? How would you go about that?
So I try to, put things in order of priority. Like, what's your priority? That's what you should put at the forefront. Like right now, it's always been like my fitness is kind of a big priority, but so is my family. So I try to be present for them. And sometimes my family takes priority. So I do. I just put them first. And then after that, when things settle down, well, I can go back to normal. But honestly, on a daily basis, like with, the gym, work, content creation is like try to navigate the chaos as best as you can. There's no real secret, like it will vary on a day-to-day basis, and just try to do your best to juggle everything up. And sometime, unfortunately, one of the balls just gonna fall flat on the floor, but it is what it is.
Yep. No, I like that. Sure. Exactly. I do, especially I like how you mentioned that the priorities aspect. And I know it's something in actually the past 2 episodes where it's just come up naturally, where it wasn't even planned of that thing of priorities. Is like, what is your priority? And like you said, sometimes same with myself, like yesterday, for example, there were some things going on and like I had to help some stuff with the family, where with some other stuff I was working on with the business for like the like creating some content, I got caught up and it's like, oh crap, either I do this with the family but then the gym's going to be closed. We're like, hey, well, family is family. You got to appreciate the family that you have them here at the moment. The gym's going to be there any day, but family, you just never know. One day, literally one night, and then the next day they might not. You just never know. Such as life, right? And so I was like, all right,
exactly.
Let's go with the family. Let's do what we have to do. And I'll go to the gym tomorrow, And that's something for me that same thing. You've seen a lot of the content I post where I love the gym. I'm always asking like, hey, hit the gym, grind it out. As we say, God gym grinds. But as always, it comes down to like certain priorities at the same time. Appreciate what you have at the moment. And especially like your loved ones, your close ones. So I love how you mentioned that. It's so true. And exactly, sometimes things fall out of place. Nothing's ever perfect, but I really like how you said it, balance it through that chaos. I think that's the best way of going about it. It's same thing with like business, is like that uncertainty, but it's making those decisions in that uncertainty. And essentially life, you like prioritize what's kind of the most important and then taking it from there. Now, let's say curious there, just wrapping it up here, a few more questions, but this has been awesome. Now I want to hear connected back to where you're from there in Canada. I'm just super curious. Let's say when you see, I know there's a lot of like interactions, as we mentioned, like through Threads online and people all over the globe. Would you say, let's say, gym culture in Canada, at least your gym or where you go, that you've seen to comparing that, let's say, gym culture to what you see online and so forth? Like, do you like what I'm trying to say is like, how do you see like how the gym is promoted or shown online in social media versus how it could maybe be in actual life, if my question is making sense?
So I'm going to say that, especially at the gym where I'm going, that, it's a very welcoming environment. I find like there's no one that's going to laugh at you for what you're doing and everything. There's like a lot of normal people that go there, but there's also like some semi-professional bodybuilders and or very huge guy that are also there, but they're not making fun of the quote unquote normal people. They're like, we're all here just to try to better ourselves. If you're a gym goer that, make fun of people because they're doing an exercise, you think it's funny or whatnot, like you don't know what happened to this person. Maybe she has an injury and it's the only range of motion she can do until she gets better. And, or if you just like flat out disrespect, like, man, you should really try to grow up and not be a dick.
Yep, exactly. Well said, honestly, because it's true. I feel like on the internet, everyone, maybe for that aspect of lack of consequence, or who knows what it could be, that everyone online feels free to say whatever they want, but in real life is like, well, would you actually say that to that person if they're right in front of you? And I mean, makes you think twice before you say something.
Absolutely. Like a lot of troll online and or assholes on the internet, like if they were face to face with you, like 95% of them would like just back away and like, hey, I didn't do anything. I don't want to fight.
Yeah,
like
punch in the face.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, 100%. And so, Alex, I would say, connected with that, when you face, let's say, any kind of online criticism, because I know that's something all of us face, let's be real, and some maybe handle it better than others, but let's say when you face with online criticism, how do you handle it? What's your best suggestion, advice to others who maybe struggle with handling it, that they go back at them or whatever the case may be, but how do you go about handling that online criticism?
Well, if it's a constructive criticism, like learn from it, like take what they said and maybe try to do better. And often they might be right. But other time, like, just block. Like it's not worth you wasting like precious minutes for hours of your time get into an argument with an asshole that could either be a real person or just a trolling bot.
Yeah, no, it's true. And that's what I tell people. That's something I learned myself too. Is like, hey, the best thing, block. And yeah, if it's a constructive criticism or something, hey, appreciate the feedback. I didn't realize my form was a bit off. I'll look into it. Hey, that's awesome. I think that's the beautiful thing about the online community, the positive side of the gym community. But then there's also that other side. Is like, you know what? You're better off to block. I know a lot of people that, well, not that I know, but I've seen a lot of people how they sometimes would rather respond. And then you see a long conversation like, oh man, like it would have been better to just block and you would have saved yourself all that energy for something more positive.
Yeah. Like, I'm not going to lie. I did do that from time to time, especially when it's something that I'm like really passionate about, especially like if you attack one of my friend and or one of my girl friends, because I do speak with a lot of women on threads, like we're friends, and I'm not like, I receive the white knight insult quite often, but yeah, I just try to be a normal and kind human being, regardless of whatever sex, gender, and or whatnot you are.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think a lot of people have lost that nowadays too. It's like, hey, where's like the respect and just like say support for others? Ultimately, let's say you're not a sim or this or that just because you're trying to like, let's say, stand up for someone else. I mean, that's like the right thing to do. That's normal. It shouldn't be seen as something weird, but you know how society changes, that it is what it is. But awesome. No, and then one final thing, Alex, if let's say the final comment that you could leave to the audience, it's been great, talking about your fitness journey, your content creation side, handling social media. And say if there was one final, let's say, comment that you wanted to leave people off with, what would that be as we wrap it up?
My God, that's a very, very good question, my friend. I think I would say to everyone watching this is just try your best. Start this podcast you want to do. Ask the girl that you like to go out and, be a kind person, and life's never going to be perfect. And I know that the world can be a dark place, but focus on what you can control and the people around you. Try to live as best of a life as you can, because you only have one life to live. So try to spend it doing good in the world, I think, and be respectful of other, because I think if we were all doing this, like the world would be a better place.
Yep. Beautiful. Well said, Alex. Well said. And you guys heard that here first on the G3X podcast. And that would actually wrap it up here for episode 3 of the podcast. Thank you so much, Alex, for being here. It was actually truly, truly awesome having you. And ultimately, for the people listening or watching to it, as remember, Mighty Munch is Alex's YouTube channel. So definitely go subscribe, watch his videos, leave comments. If you want to follow him on Instagram or Threads, he's Alex LaForest on social media. And so I'll make sure to leave that in the description there so you guys can like check him out, give him a follow, show some support, show some love. For us, of course, we're G3X Fitness, God Gym Grind, clothing brand. So if you haven't heard of us, maybe it's your first time, like you just stumbled upon it through YouTube or something, so you could give us a follow too. We're a fitness clothing brand where we also like doing a lot of cool content, motivational videos, podcasts now that we're doing. So stick around. And again, we appreciate everyone. And thank you so much. And we'll be seeing you guys. As always, God Gym Grind. Take care.